How did Manchester City replace De Bruyne, Booth?
It's an absolutely interesting question. I actually think we're one step towards that replacement with Kovacic. I think he's been fantastic. It's only been a couple of... Look, I know you don't like him.
No, hang on. Do you know what I think is important to establish here?
Yeah.
I do like Kovacic. I do rate him.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost insane to compare Kovacic and Kevin De Bruyne.
No, I'm not trying to compare them. And City have a kind of level of creativity that you couldn't get from any other player with De Bruyne. He's a generational talent. He's unbelievable. But City have literally gone on to win Premier Leagues when he's been out for 9 months. Do you know what I mean? Serious, like, big wins, big victories by playing simple, Ilkay Gundogan in midfield with Rodri, keeping it simple. I think Kovacic can operate in that Ilkay Gundogan role, keeping it very simple. He can drive through midfield. And then I think the big factor that we've seen in recent games, even in this one against Newcastle, Phil Foden in midfield. He can drive at people. He is very creative. It's a different kind of creativity from De Bruyne. He can be a bit deeper, whip it. Foden can drive at defences.
That's the key. I've got an issue with that. You know when you said a bit deeper and whipping it? If you think about the brilliance of Haaland, right? Think about what he's excellent at. And think about when you think about the way that Man City score goals, the way that Man City score goals, for the furtherance of Man City, what you could do is get Haaland on the end of stuff, right? So, the way that you do that is get Kevin De Bruyne picking the ball up in that channel, right channel, on De Bruyne's right, whip it, Haaland's left.
Yeah. And
Haaland's left foot, right? It's different in the air, but Haaland's left. Nobody else does that in the team. Because Foden, great, but he's not going to whip it from the right onto...
And we don't have the overlapping fullbacks anymore. We've got the inverted fullback, so Kyle Walker's not going around anyone and whipping it first time either.
Exactly.
So...
The best... I'd say that Haaland's best attribute is that cross that comes in and then the inside of his left foot.
Yeah.
And the ball. Whereas when he scores from the other side, when it's whipped in from the other side, he does that weird, amazing, but that weird contortion of his body where he jumps up and gets ahead of the ball and bicycle kicks it or cuts his body in half and back heels it with his left foot.
This clip is brought to you by the lovely lads at Super 6. You get the chance for a free shot of £1 million if you win and get 6 correct results predicted by the start of the next round of the Premier League. Also, join our mini league, Club 23. The link is in the description down below. And if you come top of our mini league, you get the chance to win £100 at classic football shirts. That's unbelievable if you ask me. Enjoy the rest of the clip.
So losing De Bruyne, if you go Foden, I'm not for 1 second not acknowledging the brilliance of Phil Foden, but it's not going to bring out the best in Haaland.
But we don't know what... I honestly have this big argument in my head that I don't think we've seen the best of Foden. I know he scored 52 goals last season in 53 appearances. I don't think he's got...
Foden?
No, I'm sorry, Haaland. We've not seen the best of Haaland.
I was like, what?
Sorry.
Did he? I must have had a long kip.
Sorry, I'm talking about Haaland. We've not seen the best of Haaland. So the way you're talking about the kind of goals that he scores is absolutely bang on. Last season, he scored a lot from De Bruyne whipping it on his right foot. I think Haaland's at the age where he can still get things from different positions. He can learn a different way of being a striker.
Sorry, you just got distracted by that. One of the things that I think De Bruyne is one of the biggest victims of, when you look over the last 4 or 5 years, the amount of football some of these top 5 players have had to play. When you look at, he's had to play so much for Belgium, so much for Manchester City, been a key part. I think when you look at him and the amount of injuries and the type of injuries he's get, his career's going to get hammered and hampered by what's going on right now. I think you're seeing time being taken off.
I'm frustrated by the situation. I don't know why. I mean...
he had no preseason, bro. Why did he start that game?
Exactly. In the Champions League, he looked absolutely knackered, and everyone was talking after the Champions League final that he wouldn't play for 6 to 9 months. He was out for ages. To rush him back against Burnley, of all sides, with all due respect, was a really weird one.
Does that show you that Pep
was on the
is
bench.
Worried about the alternative options too?
I was about to say, he doesn't trust his other players.
I don't think it was a trust thing.
It has to be that.
I don't think it was a trust thing.
You're being too kind. It has to be.
I think you see De Bruyne, you think he's fit, and then you think, well, let's just try and get him back to that level.
Do you know a similar example of this? A similar example. The only thing I can draw on is Reece James. Reece James was rushed back for the first game after the World Cup when he obviously wasn't ready. He'd done the same injury because we didn't trust the other option. If Kevin De Bruyne got injured to miss a Champions League final, effectively taken off, right? He then has the whole summer, and now he's gone for surgery as the season started. It obviously meant he wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So the surgery should have happened when the injury was done during the summer, and they acknowledge that they don't start the season with him. Instead of that, they've clearly tried to rush. And the reason they've tried to rush, is
Didn't
because
play much, if at all.
the reason they've tried to rush is clearly because, and can only be because, they don't trust the other options.
I don't know if it's trust. I think it might be because of Ilkay Gundogan and then De Bruyne. He doesn't want both of them to be out the side. But as a fan, I think you could have trusted Kovacic. I thought he was fantastic in pre-season. You could have trusted Bernardo Silva, who's going to stay. It's not like Bernardo Silva's kind of halfway out the door. I think Bernardo Silva's a talking point that we have to have here, because City are linked to a winger in Doku. So Doku can be the winger on the right side. Mahrez isn't there anymore. And then you've got those midfield options of Kovacic, Rodri, Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva in midfield is as good as anyone, and he has to play on the right. That's how good he is.
But do you
in
miss
two
him?
positions.
Do you miss him elsewhere? If you put him there, it leaves a hole elsewhere.
Yeah, if it was the Champions League final tomorrow, Bernardo Silva would probably start in midfield, because you need that control without İlkay Gundogan. But as the season progresses, I'm hoping Phil Foden's a generational talent. I think in midfield he can learn how to control a game as opposed to be driving.
Him the way that the world seems to think he should play?
He does. He's played him in big games already. He played him against PSG in the run to the Champions League final against Chelsea in midfield. He was dictating play in Paris. He was fantastic. He's doing it. He did it in the Super Cup. He's doing it against Newcastle
Stepping
tonight.
into De Bruyne's role.
Phil Foden's
in the first 45 minutes here, Phil Foden's created 5 chances. So he has kind of...
No.
I know you're not.
The thing is, I think Phil Foden's brilliant. My issue is, and this is what I'd love to know the answer to, it's not whether I think he's brilliant. I think he is. I don't think Pep thinks he is.
I don't think Pep thinks he's as good as we do.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone else.
He doesn't trust him. He doesn't play. Like, Phil Foden's not young. Do you know, like,
but Phil Foden's competing with... He's not competing with another academy player. He's competing with a generation. Some people regard De Bruyne as one of the best to ever play in the Premier League, so that's one player. And then İlkay Gundogan, who was in his prime, scoring big goals in the FA Cup final, big goals to get us to the Champions League final.
But you have a team that requires a squad.
Yeah,
and you have 4 positions behind the striker where Foden can play all of it.
And he does play a lot of football. He came on in the Champions League final and influenced the game, and no one talks about that from rival fans.
So is Foden the replacement for De Bruyne in the long term?
Of course he is. Of course he
should be.
The big game we have to talk about, he was the replacement in the biggest game in the club's history, the biggest result in the club's history. And
ahead of other options as well, ahead of Mahrez. He was fantastic
against Inter Milan.
This is a great opportunity for him to capitalise on, obviously, detrimental for you, for Kevin De Bruyne's injury. If he wants to take that position by the scruff of the neck and show Pep Guardiola, you don't need to buy anyone. I can do this 10 role and this creative role by myself. This is a good season. This is a good time for him.
Yeah, obviously, I think if it's not now, though, if he doesn't do what you're suggesting, if we're sitting here in a year and we're again debating, is Guardiola fancying Foden? How good is Foden? If we're still doing that, I think that it's getting to the point where he needs to either deliver to City standard, or we've got to have a serious exploration.
I don't know why Phil Foden gets. Is it because it's the English thing? Because there are examples throughout many players' careers at City where Ruben Diaz at a big point last season he wasn't played. De Bruyne at points wasn't played.
Ruben Diaz hadn't been at the club for.
No. I'm saying that last season he was fully fit. Ruben Diaz and City fans were absolutely livid. He wasn't playing football, and Akanji. So Phil Foden's played. He played over 40 games last season. I know a lot of them are sub appearances, but Phil Foden has played a lot of football. He's won 5 Premier League titles. It's absolutely crazy. So
I know what you're saying. When we look at some of the young superstars that have come through previously, like Wayne Rooney and that, and then you look at the end of their career and you're like, fucking hell, he's played so much football in the first 9 years of his career. He's blasted out now. Foden may benefit from that, where later stage of his career has got a bit more. Yeah.
I feel like Bellingham's got that. Bellingham has played so much football.
Yeah, you were saying that stat last week.
But my thing is with Foden, it's all well and good, and we all know he's great. He's a creative player. He's fantastic. I think he can definitely play that 10 role or that creative role. It's all good doing it in the Premier League, but I think Pep, I don't know, if he doesn't play him in the Champions League in the 10 role, then I'd say I don't think Pep trusts him.
Is that his best position?
Yeah, 100%. I never used to see Phil Foden on the right wing. He's too creative for that.
No, you're bang on.
He's not a winger. He's not a winger either, is he? Yeah.
The wing. He's a 360 player. He could see it all, the whole round, the whole pitch. Phil Foden, if he plays in Champions League and he has great performance in Champions League, high pressure games, top performances against top teams, then I'd say, okay, cool.
He's off to a good start. I mean, he's super young. He did it against Inter Milan, a side that were very hard. Brozovic in midfield, unbelievable midfield, aggressive midfield. He was fantastic.
Do you need to sign another